Last week we talked about various forms of what I call SI inspiration. If you don't remember much of it, I will give a brief recap. SI inspiration describes when writers take their ideas from memorable experiences that left behind an impact on them, an internal reaction like enjoyment or terror. This week we will delve into the other side of inspiration, extroverted sensing inspiration. And we will talk about the differences in memory, how extroverted sensing and introverted sensing memory works. The first thing you need to understand is that writers who predominantly use extroverted sensing have rather weak introverted sensing, which obviously inhibits their ability to draw inspiration from impactful experiences that they have received in the past. SE users with very weak SI literally have trouble paying attention to their physical body because they pay so much attention to their environment. So let's look at a few writers who came out as extroverted sensing users and listen to how they got their ideas for their novels.
My husband and I were cross-country skiing in Massachusetts, and I saw branches sticking up out of the snow, looking a bit like buried antlers. And I thought, I want to write a book about a boy who wakes up on his birthday and finds he can work magic in snow, just like this.
So one day I'm sitting in Central Park in strawberry fields, and there's always a street musician mangling Beatles tunes. So I'm sitting there and I'm looking across at the guy and I said, what if that was my lead character's daughter? What if she was strung out and he hadn't seen her in 6 months and he finally found her? And if I opened the book that way?
I also learned from a private email conversation with the writer Mike Tucker, who wrote a couple of novels for Doctor Who, how he got the idea for his novel The Crawling Terror. He was basically just walking around during Halloween and observing some fake spider webs, and that was the initial seed for the idea that later became the novel. If you paid close attention to these reports, you will have noticed that all of these writers got inspired by something tangible in their environment. This is a consistent theme with the writers who predominantly use their extroverted sensing. The focus seems to be on an object, a place, or a person that they observe in their environment. Now, this is obviously just a tendency, not a general rule. Like I said in the previous video, a lot of writers get their ideas from the urge to explore emotional issues or expressing some values that they consider as very important. So there's really a lot of different areas writers can draw their inspiration from. So now let's move on to some technical stuff and let's have a look at the big difference in the memory of SI users and SE users. Why is SE so focused on the present? As we already know, SI is the function that you use to pay attention to your internal experience. That means you are aware of how you react to something, and that reaction sticks with you and you process how it affected you. It stays in your mind, it comes back up again and again to be re-experienced in your mind and explored and processed. The bigger the impact of the experience, the more it cycles in your thoughts, which will eventually anchor the experience in your long-term memory. On the other hand, if you are using extroverted sensing more, then you pay attention to your physical realm. You are aware of your environment, of the things and people in it, of physical movement in it.
And when I'm in a new place, I genuinely feel like I have vestigial antennae that are suddenly out and spinning around and like receiving new data.
You are constantly outside of yourself, not paying attention to your internal experience, but to your environment. People with very weak SI literally don't notice that they bleed, or that they're crying, or that they're hungry, or that they're not hungry anymore. And all that input feeds into introverted intuition and is processed there. And we are going to talk about that in the next video, how that works and what that does. Suffice to say that introverted intuition processes the input differently than introverted sensing. So now that we know all this, an obvious question arises. How exactly can SE users remember things that concern themselves? One obvious answer would be they write everything down in notebooks. And it is true that SE users typically have a lot of notebooks and they do journal. However, there is another answer to this, and it is a concept called totemic memory. But before we talk about totemic memory, don't forget to like and subscribe. So what is totemic memory? Or a better question, what is a totem? A totem is a physical object in the real world that contains your memory. Since you are better at remembering things about other people and objects, you can help yourself remember things about yourself by connecting them to an object, by sharing the experience. These memories only resurface if that object or person that the memory is connected to re-enters your environment. This is why SE users keep all kinds of souvenirs that take them back to beautiful moments, even dirty pieces of cloth or junk, just as long as they are rich in memory.
You know, I write phone numbers in my hand, and I take notes, and, you know, I have souvenirs of things, and I use photography and all these different aids to kind of, you know, help me live life.
If you tell something to a person, you will remember this as soon as that person re-enters your environment. Or if you take a stone from a beach, then you will always remember the experience when you were there if you look at that stone. Objects, but also places and even people can get permanently tainted with bad memories. That time that you screwed up with someone is the thing that you're always going to remember when you see that person. When a person in the life of an SE user dies, it hits them especially hard because a lot of memories die with that person. A lot of memories that can never resurface because that person is never going to re-enter your environment. Same is true if you lose an object. Extroverted sensing users are also notorious for throwing out all the stuff that reminds them of their ex-boyfriends or girlfriends. They clear their environment of things and pictures and everything that reminds them of something sad or tragic, because every time they look at that object, it automatically reminds them of that experience. This can have an adverse effect because it also means that you don't learn as well from your mistakes. You might ask me now, how exactly is this relevant for fiction writing? For one, it helps you understand what type you are. And also, I have a little piece of writing advice that you can apply with this knowledge. If you want to help yourself commit to a story and to the craft of writing itself, you can do that by surrounding yourself with objects that remind you of your commitment. As an SE user, you need to pay attention to what you surround yourself with. And if necessary, modify your environment and your input to support your process. Reduce your chances of developing a new desire that might distract you from your commitment, or if you experience writer's block, change your environment, go out and get new input. As an SI user, your objective is more having many impactful experiences that help you figure out what experiences feel like and what is truly enjoyable, because what you enjoy is oftentimes something that your audience will enjoy as well. Alright, that's it already. This was a short one. Next one is going to be about the introverted intuition vision. I promise. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was insightful. And I hope I'll see you in the next video.